What is going on, you beautiful, beautiful bastards? Welcome back to the channel. This is Unnecessary Rambling. I am Brandon Sylvia. Thank you all for stopping by to listen to me ramble and rank the games of February, ranking everything that I played in February. And a little bit smaller of a month. We only have 5 games to get through today, 5 games to rank, but I did finish all 5 of them. So, I guess it kind of evens out there. And there's a couple bigger titles in here. So, and plus, obviously, February is a smaller month, so I guess you throw that in there as well. But yeah, 5 games to get through and talk about and rank. So let's go ahead and... before we do jump into that, Scars Above came out on February 28th. My copy still hasn't arrived yet, so when that comes in, I'll play it, rank it. That will be for the March video. So just to throw that in there. And, yeah. Without further ado, let's kick this off. Hit me in the comments. Let me know what you played in February. Let me know what you liked, anything that stood out, any hidden gems, or just great titles you would highly recommend that you dove into for the first time in February. Hit me up in the comments below. All right, number 5, the worst game that I played all month is undoubtedly Atomic Heart. This was a very bad experience. Game-breaking bugs, just buggy as all hell. And even without the bugs, like, there just wasn't enough here for me that was really stand out or memorable on any real level. Like, I thought the atmosphere, the ambiance, the art direction, the world building, the music was solid, really solid. But outside of that, when you actually got into the fundamentals of the game and playing the game, not much really doing for me. Standard okay enough first person shooting. I probably could have selected better powers to focus on. I used majorly the ice, like freezing power, and the shield power, when I think there could have been some other options in there that may have been a little bit more fun to get in there and mess around with, like the telekinetic abilities or some of the fire attacks and shit like that. But yeah, I went with the ice as my main ability and really just focused on upgrading the shit out of that, because I did think that the first person melee stuff was kind of fun, like holding up or charging your attacks and doing like really strong attacks and just upgrading the hell out of your melee weapons. It kind of harkened back to a Dying Light feel in a lot of ways, and just decimating the enemies and decapitating these robots, which that's kind of one of the bigger problems of Atomic Heart, just structurally with me, is that it's a lot of attacking these robots, and there's just not a real like solid feel to killing them. And then, like I would freeze the robots and, I would smash them with the melee weapon, and then they would break into pieces, and like that was cool. But that posed another bug that I ran into, where for the majority of the game, I would freeze an enemy, smash it, and there would be like a little part of the enemy that would fall off, and I could loot it and, gather resources from killing the enemy. Well, as I progressed through the game, and I guess that's something to touch on real quick, is that the first like 4 hours, I was thinking that this was going to be possibly a game of the year style game for me. I was like, holy shit, the way that they're building up this world at the beginning, and just the views of this game and the visuals of this game were stunning, man. Like the architecture and the way that they designed these little cities, I was stunned. And then the more I played the game, the more I realized this thing it felt like it was being held together by the tiniest of threads. And talking about the bugs, when I at first was focusing on the freezing powers, would kill the enemies, loot the enemies, go about my business fine. Then it got to a point later where I would freeze the enemies, kill the enemies, they would go missing. Like there would be no shattered parts laying around for me to loot, nothing. Everything would just disappear. It's like, okay, well, that's fucking weird. And later on in the game, after bugs, it came back to normal, and I could freeze my enemies, kill my enemies, loot them, fine. And it was just like a constant cycle of running into these different issues, where at a time my character just completely stopped running, and I would have to, restart the game to get him to run again, or just a whole fucking list of these issues. I would run into an elevator and I would have to, go down a floor to progress the level. The elevator wouldn't go down. It's just stuck there. And I'm like, okay, restart again. That one actually took multiple times of like reloading saves and jumping back in. But the biggest one, the most frustrating bug I had with this game was one where I'm in this dark ass room and they lay out all these little fleshy fucking orbs that send out these little flying fuckers to go and attack you. And you have to go and find all the little fleshy orbs, kill them so that the flying little shits aren't, rushing out to kill you. And then whenever you see nothing else flying around, it's kind of the indicator that you have killed all the little fleshy items, the fleshy glowy orbs, and you can progress. Well, I killed everything, and I'm looking in this room, and I can't go anywhere. The door is still shut. I was like, okay, well, that's really, really bizarre. So I wait, boot it up, actually, let's backtrack to lay this out clearly. I did this over and over and over again. Because I was thinking, of course, like, somehow I fucked something up, and this is definitely my fault. So let me keep going back over this over and over and over again until I figure out what I did wrong. But I should have realized at that point, that was kind of when the pendulum was starting to swing. This was probably like, I don't know, 6-ish or so hours into the game, and I was starting to encounter more and more bugs, and I should have just picked up that, yeah, this is a game-breaking bug. This something's not right here. But I just replayed this level over and over and over again and could not figure out what I was doing wrong. So I was like, all right, it's most likely a bug. So I wait, come back the next day, not updated, next day, not like it took 3-4 days until this thing was updated to a point where I was able to get through this level. So you were just stuck sitting there waiting for, a patch to make the game even finishable. And I don't know, that's, I know it's the studio's first game. I know Mundfish is, they were aiming way above their weight class. They were, this is a really ambitious title, and I absolutely applaud them for attempting something like this on this scale. It's really impressive. It legit, like, when you look at this game just from a visual standpoint, to think that this is a studio's first game is really shocking. And even, like, I think some of the story beats are solid enough. This post World War II alternate history timeline. Soviet Union develops like all this, like they have these big scientific breakthroughs and technological breakthroughs, and they're developing what they're hoping to be this utopia. And, even the story threads where you were saved by this doctor and now you feel like you owe him your life, and you follow him through thick and thin, and then the friction and conflict that builds between that. Like, some of that stuff I was into, and I actually was even into the tone of Atomic Heart with this almost 80s feeling, like humorous action flick feel and tone, and all of that was fine. It was just, it was really the bugs broke this game for me. And yeah, I mean, I could keep going on. I think the open world in and of itself made almost no sense, where it felt like the main reason to go off into the open world was for to go and find resources, to hoard resources for the next big boss encounter or the next big battle encounter. But it felt like all of your exploratory sort of wonder was thrown out the window whenever it's like this constant cycling of enemy waves being thrown at you. So you're going through these open sections, and the bombardment of enemies, one after another respawning, makes it to where, like, okay, am I actually just wasting more resources by being out in the open world, opposed to like just going from the linear section to linear section and collecting the resources within the linear parts of the game? And I felt like that was kind of the case. So it got to a point where I was like, I just don't want to explore this open world at all. So I would just take a car and ram straight through all these little fucking droids and drones and And that is kind of fun, just running over the drones until a car starts to blow up and hopping in, trying to find a different car. Like, some of that shit is fun. And like I said, I do think the first person melee system is decent. I do think that some of the puzzle solving in particular is pretty cool. The one where the world is kind of flipping on its head and you're having to time whenever the world starts to twist and go in and get the right, like, it's I don't, man. It's a hard to explain section of the game, but it's like these platforms that you're cycling between by pushing a button, and you have to pick the right one depending on the way that it's going to shift and get you to the next angle, so that you can jump onto a certain platform to get to the next platform. And like, some of that stuff was cool, but then it gets to a point also where there's this repetition to like the minute to minute puzzles in the game, where just to like open a door, you're snapping your fucking fingers to this rhythm, or to these little, I don't even know what you call it. It's like these little, I guess just like lock mechanisms that are protruding from this circular object on the door. I'm explaining this horribly. I'll put in some gameplay so you can see it, but and you have to time it to snap your fingers at the right time to like unlock the door, and then it goes from that one to one where you're having to line up these dots, the different colors of the dots at the right spots. And it's just like, even to progress from minute to minute, there's these little things, these little barriers that just break the flow of the gameplay. And like the puzzles on the wall where you're having to line this shit up and get the 2 out of the 3 to be green on the certain levels, and like it's just a constant, it felt like a constant barrier to get to the stuff you actually wanted to do. And it was just too repetitious. It was too much of it, in my opinion. But yeah, I just didn't enjoy the game. If I'm being totally honest, this game was just not for me. It didn't live up to my expectations, and maybe my expectations were set a little bit too high, possibly. But yeah, the Atomic Heart did not do it for me at all. On into number 4, Wanted Dead. This is a game that was made by some of the ex-Ninja Gaiden developers, and it tries to, stay in that realm of third-person, hack and slash, action-packed gameplay loop with also some third-person shooting elements and cover shooting elements. And I really enjoyed this game. I really did. The 3 games ahead of this I just think are better, but in terms of like enjoyment from purely a abstract and bizarre level, like this is one of the more bizarre games I've ever played in my life, where you're cycling between doing little claw, collectible mini games, and then going into eating ramen in these challenges and karaoke mini games, and shooting at the gun range inside of this humongous like 4-story police department that you can fully explore as like your little hub base. And there's just a lot of crazy, weird, fun shit about this game attached to a bizarre narrative that I was hooked by, just for the nature of how chaotic it was. Like, I never knew what was going to happen from moment to moment. I was like on the edge of my seat, just wanting to see how this thing concluded. And like there's literally a character that you fight in a boss battle that looks just like The Rock. A character you fight in a boss battle that looks just like Tom Cruise. And it's insane. And then the like, there's moments in the story where you're feeling like, okay, are you doing some heartfelt, like, slight twist here? Are you trying to be a little bit more emotional and get me pulled in a little bit, telling me the story about, a character named Uncle Bob, and he was a cellmate of one of your companions, and he's telling you the story of, their bond in prison together and the loyalty and this and that. And then you go, oh, well, what happened to him? He goes, suicide by spoon. Suicide by spoon. After all these emotional kind of buildups, that's the payoff to No, I'm not saying that's the payoff to the entire story, but that's the payoff to this little moment in the game. And you're like, is it okay if I laugh at that? Like, I'm not sure what you want from me here, because that's fucking funny. Objectively, that's a funny way to spin that story that was being told, that was all heartfelt and emotional, but it's wildly dark. And I'm like, I don't really know what you want from me here. Like, I'm trying, I want to be invested in whatever you're trying to deliver to me, but that's a fucking wild little twist on this story that you're telling me. And I don't know, there's just little like even small pop culture references where there's a point where a character gets shot and someone says, "Doc, don't just stand there, operate." Like a spoof on the Eminem, Dr. Dre, don't just stand there, operate. I'm ready to whatever the fuck. And like those little moments that are just so memorable. Like I'll never forget those little fucking moments. And they're kind of throwaway, just bizarre gags, but like that'll be imprinted in my mind as like some of the wildest shit I've ever seen in a video game story. It's a crazy video game. And I haven't even talked about the gameplay, because the gameplay's not great. And to be fair, I wasn't great at the game. But here, let me, this is even more selling the fact of how into it I was. I was playing through the game. I got about halfway, or maybe like 3 out of 8 hours into the game. And I went up in this boss battle against a dude that looks like The Rock. And I just couldn't finish it. It was, I believe the character's name is August. And I could not, like, I just couldn't do it. I would get to the last stage and I just didn't have enough health packs. I didn't have, like, I couldn't finish the damn fight. I just kept getting killed. But there's only, like, a normal and hard difficulty, I think, at the beginning. And then if you die enough, an easy difficulty will pop up and it'll ask if you want to switch. And I guess that it only asks you that once, maybe, or it just doesn't ask you that in the fight against the dude that looks like The Rock. But so I'm fighting this battle and I just can't get it done. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? I wish it would ask me if I wanted to switch to easy, because I would have loved to have switched right there from easy and went on and finished the game, because I was just so into the narrative. But I went online and I was like, looking for any way to switch it. If there's something can you just not switch it on the Rock boss fight? And I see that you can go from the menu screen and do like a little cheat code to open up an easy mode. And so I do it, but then I have to start all the way over from the beginning. So I was like, you know what? I'm just not good enough for this game. I'll just put it off to the side and not finish it. And then I came back the next day. I was like, dude, I'm just going to fucking play through this whole thing again, because I was so into this crazy, weird world that they were building. And like, there's moments where, and I know I'm going off again talking about the story, but there's moments where you'll have this, nice video game cutscene that's super stereotypical, normal of any video game, looks just like a video game cutscene that you've seen 100 times. And then it'll transition immediately from that to like a full-blown anime style movie. And you're like, what is going on? Like, not even just the fact that it transitions so abruptly, the fact that it transitions in a way that is not connected to the last cutscene you were just watching. And it's like a totally different story that you're watching in the anime, but it has like some of the same characters in it, like almost these flashback scenes, but they pop up out of, it's crazy. This is a crazy video game. I almost want to move it up just for the fucking craziness of it. But the actual gameplay is rough. The camera at times is just so bugged the fuck out. You can't see anything going on. And this is one of those games where you have to see what's going on to progress. And yeah, look, people differ on their opinions of difficulty and all that. I'm not here to have that debate. I don't really give a fuck. But for me, video games are about enjoyment. I don't care about getting good. I don't care about like that. That shit does nothing for me. But I would say if you play it on normal, you want to do it for the challenge, and you just feel like, this isn't doing it for me, I definitely would recommend the first time it offers you to switch the difficulty down, drop the damn difficulty down if you're enjoying the surrounding parts but not enjoying the get goodification of it. And at that point, I do think you'll have just a much better time playing the game, slicing shit up, taking chainsaws and massacring your enemies, and just getting into the bizarre nature of this game. This game is so bizarre, but it's so different and so it's just cool. It's a cool little fucking game. It really is. So yeah, I would recommend it. Maybe not at whatever full price it's at right now, but if you can grab this thing on a sale, and it also has a physical copy, so a smaller game with a physical copy, I'm usually down to check those out. Especially like I like these character action games, but this one is really, really fucking difficult. Really, really difficult. Not in a difficult way like it. To me, it just wasn't a fun type of difficult because there were so many just limitations within the design of the game that prevented it from being like a fun challenge for me personally. In at number 3, Quantum Break. And this is a game that I think if this had released, multi-platform, I think people would be talking about this as like a real hidden gem from Remedy. And it was just on a platform that at the time had a lot of negative buzz surrounding it. And like if this released in the modern era of Xbox, I think this shit would be praised, and rightfully so. This is a solid game. This is a solid Remedy title. It has all the makings and markings of a Remedy game. And my first time playing it, I believe this is, I could be missing something, but I believe this is the last Remedy game, or the only Remedy game that I hadn't played at this point. So I think I have I've checked off all the Remedy games. So maybe at some point I'll do like a little ranking of that or something. But yeah, Quantum Break, the story, like the first setup of this game when you're exploring the little campus, the college, like immediately from that moment I was like legit gripped by what was going on. And just they did such a great job with the attention to detail of the little side characters that you go off and talk to, and they have like their own things going on, and you go up and it's this obviously time manipulation, quantum physics sort of storyline going on, and your brother's involvement of this operation of creating this time machine. And of course, like with any time machine, time travel sort of storyline, shit goes haywire, and you are trying to re-manipulate time to go back and fix things to the way that it was before this big event at the beginning of the game. And I'll just leave it there in case anybody hasn't played it, but it's a really, really cool story full of like high level actors in this game. Fucking Lance Reddick is a big part of the narrative. And then they have Shawn Ashmore, who's the main character that you play as. And it's just got a good cast of characters, and then it cuts from the video game part of things, and then it transitions to like the full-on live action story that it's telling in between the game. And that's the divisive part of the game that has people split, and I totally see why, because that's the part I'm the most split on as well, I think, because at times it really is a mood thing. And that's the unfortunate part of it, is it doesn't really have anything to do with quality. It's just, if you sit down for an hour, okay, you have an hour before work, and you sit down, and it just happens to be you're at a part of the game where you play for 20 minutes, and then it cuts to a 30-minute stretch of just the live action movie style stuff. You're like, fuck, man, I wanted to sit down and play a game for an hour. And if you're not given that in the window that you had to play, that is... You know what I mean? Like that could be just bothersome in general. But there would be times where, say I was playing for a good chunk, like a good 3-4 hour stretch, where it was nice to have those little breaks. Or even like if I was playing for 2 hours, it would be like a good cutoff point at night where like, okay, I'm playing it from 9 to 11 or whatever, and I get to a point at the end of that stretch at 10:30 where it cuts to a movie or the live action stuff, and I'm like, cool, this is a nice way to spend the next 30 minutes before I cut the game off and go to sleep. Like it really was mood dependent, and like that's you know what I mean, that's not really the greatest thing to have to depend on is what the player's mood is going to be while they're engaging with your product, you know? But one thing I really just respect about Remedy in general is that they go for it, you know, just they're incredibly innovative. And that doesn't mean it's always going to land. Like with the bullet time in Max Payne, that was something that was so damn innovative, and it could have took so many different twists and turns and been slightly off mechanically on just a minor level, and it wouldn't have worked. But it was innovative as shit, and it worked. And just like, even with Control, creating this AAA looking and feeling game with all these crazy telekinetic powers and abilities on a budget of like, what, fucking like $30 million. You know what I mean? That it's just they're impressive as shit with what they do. And maybe it didn't so much land 100% what they were going for with the live action mixed with the regular video game cutscenes mixed with the actual playing of the game, and maybe it didn't land 100%, but I appreciate just trying it. It was so unique and different that I just appreciated the effort with it. And also combining that with a lot of what you see with Control, you kind of see the rumblings and the formation of a lot of the mechanics in Control with Quantum Break. You know, like the shooting, the third person shooting, the cover systems are solid. A lot of your powers, like you have telekinetic powers, and you have these different powers that you transitioned into Control. And so, and in large part, Quantum Break mechanically was very important to get Control out the door. So yeah, is it on the level of Control for me? Definitely not, but it is a really underrated title that I would absolutely recommend. A narrative that is really good, captivating from beginning to end. The only thing that it's going to come down to how you feel about the transitioning between game to live action sort of narrative. And if you end up liking that, this is going to be absolutely incredible. If you don't like that, it's going to bum you out, because it's a lot of that, like a lot of that. But I do think from just a fundamental gameplay level, world building, visually, it's fucking incredible. It's still an incredible, like, it holds up, looks great today. If this came out today, people would be like, oh, that's a fucking great looking video game. You know, it's a really great character models, and yeah, just the world shots, the world building, and really damn good. All right, on into number 2. Rise of the Tomb Raider. I dug this game. I don't know if I like it more than the first, or they're like almost equal to me. The things I like more about Rise of the Tomb Raider, obviously this was like the first real next gen Tomb Raider, with 2013's Tomb Raider coming out on the 7th gen consoles. This is like the real kind of next gen push for Tomb Raider, and you can tell immediately with just the visuals with the cinematics are really good, but even the gameplay, the visuals within the gameplay and the movement it's just a lot better in terms of performance and the visuals. But there are some things like Rise of the Tomb Raider really opens up like in a big way. And I like 2013 Tomb Raider wasn't small by any means, but Rise of the Tomb Raider is much larger, with so much on that map to go off and do, which is cool and really great for, and that's the thing that I have to take into consideration sometimes when I'm playing a game and I am, you know, like I'm wanting to jump from this to that to this to that. I want to play a little bit of everything. I really like getting a taste of all these different genres and different games, and like some people buy a couple games a year, and if you have Rise of the Tomb Raider with all that content on the map, all these different things to go and do, like, that's really appealing to some people, to know that they can probably spend 50-60 hours with this game. But for me, for what I want from a Tomb Raider, I want that Tomb Raider, Uncharted, linear third person shooter, exploration, sort of that's what I'm looking for in a window of about 10 to 15 hours. So this is a bigger game than that. And I did kind of mainline the path to make it the game I wanted to make it, but I was often looking around like, damn, let me go off and do this for just a second. Let me go off and do that for just a second. And a lot of the really fun shit I did was just kind of venturing off and, well, let's see what's over here. Let me go solve this fucking tomb puzzle. Let me go and check out this outpost. And that there is some fun shit to do in that. And I actually would like to go back at some point and play more of it. But the narrative for Rise of the Tomb Raider, something that I really enjoyed was kind of the more Croft-centric narrative surrounding, Laura's father and Laura and their connection and his sort of legacy and what he was searching after, and then her kind of trying to follow that path and running into the roadblocks along the way. Like that was really solid for me. And then bringing back, a key character from the last game and shining a bigger light on him and him playing a bigger part throughout the narrative. On the gameplay side of things, it is definitely more of the same. I do like the implementation of knife combat and having a more focus of the melee knife combat. It's just nice to have that ability, dodging and pulling off the knife combat like that. That it felt a little bit more involved in Rise of the Tomb Raider than it did in 2013's, with more the quick time focus of 2013's, which they do kind of carry that over as well. But there's a little bit more freeform melee, which it's not incredible, but it's nice to just have that option available. The rope swinging and like the grapple axe web swing shit, that I loved that as just a new way of exploring and moving around and getting to your destination quicker, and kind of feeling like a little bit of a fucking Lara Croft Spider-Man blend. Like, some of that shit's fun, and the platforming is still one puzzle in Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider is maybe it's right towards the end of the game. It's maybe my favorite puzzle ever in a game. Might be hyperbole, but I love this puzzle. It's like all timing and precision focused, and this platform is constantly moving, and you're having to jump right at the right times, timing your jump, watching for the platforms, how they're shifting, where you need to maneuver on the platform to get to the next one. And like it's just so involved and in depth, but it's like very doable. And each time you fuck something up, you get back and you're like, okay, I think I know what I did wrong. And like those, I love movement-based puzzles. Like we talked about Atomic Heart, there's actually some similarities between the two, other than the world switching, like literally switching in Atomic Heart, and this is just more of a platform switcheroo scenario. But I love that precision-based platforming puzzle solving, and it was just so involved and so fun, and it really is one of my favorite puzzles I've ever seen in a video game. I absolutely fucking loved that puzzle. But yeah, overall it's definitely you feel it's a lot more of the same, but the improvements are noticeable. Visuals are much better, and like I said, just some little gameplay tweaks and improvements. I would say it's kind of like right on par with 2013's game. If you like a more open world to explore, it's not totally open world. You can go down linear paths, but it is more open-ended than 2013's game. If you prefer that, Rise of the Tomb Raider definitely has you covered with a lot more content. And if you want a more linear, straightforward path, I would say 2013's Tomb Raider has you covered. All right, on in to number 1. Hogwarts Legacy. This game fucking rules. It's kind of funny, talking about Tomb Raider and me not, kind of my biggest complaint with Rise of the Tomb Raider being the open world, and then it's like Hogwarts Legacy. It's a big ass open world game, but I loved it, and there is maybe something weird there where my expectations with Tomb Raider is like, oh, it's got to be this linear narrative driven action adventure thing, but holy shit, man, the world of Hogwarts Legacy is immaculate. It's so amazing. The exploration of Hogwarts Legacy is top tier. And to be clear, I don't give a shit about Harry Potter. I know nothing about it. I have no interest in it. Will probably never get into Harry Potter at all. But this game, from a video game standpoint, is really, really good. The attention to detail, seeing the different characters going off and doing their own thing, and like, they're engaging with their little magical powers on their own, teleporting, walking sideways up the sides of walls at times and shit. And you're like, is that a bug? But it's not a bug. It's literally just these characters doing their own thing. They all got their own little lives that they're living, and like, it was just really immersive, a really gripping world to be a part of, and really a joyful, jolly world to be a part of. The like the room of requirement in the castle, which the fucking we'll talk about the castle, but the room of requirement where you go in and you get to fully detail this room however you want it, almost like this sim-esque experience where you're designing it like a fucking interior designer. You're going in there, you're having the look and the feel you want for it. Then you go off and you have this like farming simulator element that's added later on, and you're caring for these animals and keeping them healthy. And like, it's just a jolly little game, man. It really, really is. And talking about that castle, dude, playing this game, I'm sitting there the whole time thinking, the X Manor, the fucking Institute. Come on, dude. How we gotta get something like this in the X-Men universe. Because I've been watching X-Men Evolution, and it could literally be a 1-to-1 beat for beat recreation of X-Men Evolution in video game form, and have it like with this. I believe Avalanche, the team who worked on Hogwarts Legacy, I don't know if they're owned by WB, but like their Twitter, it says WB Avalanche, I believe, the last time I looked. And so I don't know if they were bought by WB or if they're... I really don't know. I need to look into that, because if that's the case, that'd be a real bummer, because they couldn't create an X-Men game. But god damn, I would love to see this team on an X-Men game, just recreating X-Men Evolution with the elements of, you have the same stuff there, the school elements, the learning your abilities, man, it's right there. It's right there. I really hope someone does that, because it'd be a great fit. But back to Hogwarts Legacy, back to the castle. It is beautiful. It is humongous, with so many rooms where you go off and you go into your little classes. That would probably be my biggest complaint of Hogwarts Legacy in general, is just the fact that it doesn't have that bully-esque feel to it, where the classes are really involved and have like mechanics that are fun to mess around with and differ. And like, it's just kind of you go to a couple classes more as like a tutorial process to get you out into the world and into like the main path. And that was a little bit of a bummer. I would have kind of liked a cycle of Hogwarts like student simulation, where you go in and you have these classes that you have to attend during the day, and maybe that could have been a little bit tedious, and at times maybe people would even say it was with Bully. But I loved having that structure and that loop to follow, and then having like fun things to do in the meantime. Like, there are moments of like the classes that can be fun, where you I don't even know if this is a class. Yeah, it was a class. Where you go out and you have the... I don't even know what the hell they call the game. Like I said, I'm not a Harry Potter guy, but you're out and you're doing these little pulls. You're pulling these objects on this board, and you're trying to get it. It's like, the harder you pull it, the further you can bring it back to get 5 points. But if you pull it too hard, it'll like fall off the board. And you're doing this like telekinetic pulls with your wand, and it's a part of learning that ability, getting that ability to incorporate into combat. And that's something I will say that stunned me with Hogwarts Legacy. The combat of Hogwarts Legacy is really good. Like, really, really, really good. You're swapping between these different sets of spells. You have 4 of them on the D-pad. You're swapping, and once you get into the flow of this game with the combat, and you really have your full like everything unlocked, or the majority of everything unlocked, it gets to a flow where you have all your different your skill sets mapped to the buttons, and you know exactly what you need to do for battle. And you know, you have the enemies will pop up with like a purple what would you even call it, like a purple fucking globe around them, or a purple shield around them. And then you have specific attacks that you have to send out to damage those shields and to break those shields. And then you can, you know, hit them with your fire attacks, hit them with your there's a quest in the game, a sub quest in the game, where you get to learn like all the real evil skills that inflict like crucible or whatever, and it inflicts this horrible damage, and it's supposed to be real evil, but you get to learn that with like this different side quest. And that's a fucking awesome side quest that gets into dealing with dealing with a sister's kind of illness, and believing that you could possibly cure it through this what is believed to be this evil set of skills that is traditionally believed to be evil. And you're learning more about that skill set, gaining more knowledge on it, learning how powerful it is, but how also it could possibly lead to devastation and disaster. And but what would you do to save your sister who has, you know, an illness that is going to kill her? And really great subplot there. There's a plot involving a lady named Potter, I believe. Really good side quest as well, that's involving, you got some cool shit going on there with dragons, and just there's some real cool shit in this game. I would definitely recommend that side quest storyline with the Potter lady, because it cinematic wise and for like a visual kind of wow factor moment, that's probably, it leads to the best moment for that in the game, I would say. And, or at least from what I saw, there's still a lot of stuff. Like I've put probably 30 hours into the game. There's still probably another 30 hours worth of content to go and do and find. It's a big ass expansive open world full of things to do. And yeah, I dude, back to the damn powers. One of the most fun things to do in this damn game is to levitate your enemy. You send them flying up in the air, and then you use this like gravity force pull down thing to bring them down. So you levitate them in the air, and then you just pull them back down, and you're just sending them up, pulling them down. It's fucking hilarious doing that shit over and over. And there's this big skill tree that you can unlock more abilities on top, or more additions on top of the abilities you already have, to make them more you know, make them do more damage, but also like you actually get to see a difference. It's not just, okay, it's doing more damage points. It's like, oh, this fireball now sends out a huge ring of fire. And like it is so it's so intricate and detailed and fun to actually upgrade your character and see the differences in combat as you go along. It's a good video game. This is a really good video game. And I got to be the first to admit, I'm taking a fat ass L on this one. I did not think that this team could be capable of this game. This is a team that made fucking Disney Infinity and Cars and Toy Story, and you know that they've made these games that, like, I'm sure they're fine, but they ain't this. This is up there. This is up there. This is a easily in any year a game of the year contender. Easily. 2023 is stacked, but yeah, I don't know. 2023 is fucking stacked. Spider-Man 2, if Starfield ends up coming out and is solid, that's Resident Evil 4, Jedi Fallen Order. I don't know. I mean, the Baldur's Gate, Diablo 4, shit. I don't know. Maybe Harry Potter or Hogwarts Legacy might be shit out of luck, possibly, but let's just put it this way. 2022, the Game of the Year nominees were Horizon, Elden Ring, God of War. What the fuck was it? Horizon, Elden Ring, God of War, Stray, Horizon, Elden Ring, God of War, Stray, Plague Tale, and Xenoblade. It would have beat Xenoblade. It would have beat Stray. It would have beat a Plague Tale. It would have been there with. It probably would have beat her. I like Horizon more than this, but it probably would have beat Horizon to most people. So it would have been right in there with God of War, Elden Ring, Horizon. Like, it's a fucking great game. It's a fucking great video game. And just flying around this world. When you get your broom, when you get your flying mounts, and that's not a spoiler, you see it from the fucking menu thing. But when you start flying around this world, and you're overlooking the vistas below you, the scenery below you, it is awe-inspiring to see a world that is like, you literally can just swoop down at any time and go and explore any of these different little things. Go and solve the Merlin puzzles. Go and do this. Go and explore this cave that who knows what the fuck you might find. You might find some cool treasure and some cool loot and different gear. And it's just visually stunning the whole time. Visually stunning. There's a couple things that are, I don't know, slightly immersion breaking. Maybe like, it has more loading screens than something like your Horizons or just your, powerhouses that are locking you at fucking 60 and keeping you, never entering into any loading screens or never having any of those segments. Like with Hogwarts Legacy, you'll go up to open doors and there'll be a little loading icon that appears above the door. And like, for me, somebody who's not like a technical snob, I don't care about that shit at all. But maybe for some people that would throw them off a little bit. Maybe some of the gear and aspects of managing that could be annoying to people if you're not going off and doing the Merlin trials and you're constantly having to go back into what the fuck was it? Hogsmeade, which that's a whole nother thing. It's like this little bustling little town that has all these different stores you go in and interact with, get different broom upgrades and potions that you can use and battle, and it's crazy. But you have to, if you're not doing the Merlin trials, constantly go in and sell your gear to get money and to open up more slots with your gear, which could be annoying to some people. Like, I do get that. And it also, like, when it comes to the narrative with the decision making and shit, like, and just the main story in general, I really liked the presentation. It was presented really well. Did the story totally grip me? No, but fucking A, dude, I'm not a fan of this shit, and I was still totally, like, I was there, I was invested, like, I wanted to see it through. But for someone who's into this shit, like, I can't imagine how cool that story is to see play out. And even for people who aren't, like, I think you're invested enough to see it through. But the big thing with the narrative is, I was a little bit bummed out by the fact that, okay, I'm and this is totally expectations. This is my fault. I should have probably followed the development a little bit more to understand what this game was intending on being. I was thinking a lot more of this was going to be Fable-esque, Mass Effect-esque, or just a little bit more Witcher-esque in the dependency of decisions and the role that would make in the story. You really don't make decisions that impact the narrative all that much. Like, they have little decision boxes where you can choose different lines of dialogue, but it's not all that impactful to the overall narrative. And that kind of bummed me out, because I was like, ooh, I want to, be this really evil fucking witch character and do a whole bunch of heinous shit and see the world react differently to me. It really doesn't do that. Like, I was doing all the fucking evil. Like, as soon as I unlocked all the evil fucking spells, I was doing all them bitches. Like, non-stop evil spells. Just, I wanted to see what would happen. And then characters will make little, like, remarks about it, but nothing really changes. And even when you say, like, there's some shit where you can go off and say a lady needs you to go and jump into a pond to retrieve a family relic or something. And you go in and you jump in the pond, you bring it back, and the dialogue will pop up. She'll be like, oh, thank you so much. Da, da, da. And your responses can be like, hey, well, here you go. Don't worry about it. You don't have to don't have to pay me. Don't have to worry about it. I just did it out the kindness of my heart. Or another one can be like, hey, I want some fucking cash. I just went and jumped in this damn lake. I don't know. You got the goddamn Loch Ness monster living outside your house. I just risked my life. Give me some fucking some Potter pennies. I want some goddamn Potter pennies. Pay up. And then, another option is just like, I'm going to keep the item. And like, those moments are cool. Those moments are cool, but the actual impact of the real, like, main narrative it's few and far between where you're making decisions that really impact the main narrative. And even with stuff like that, it's not like the character, well, I don't know, because I never stole their item, which I guess that probably would piss the character off. But I just always would ask for more money. Like, no, fuck that. Pay me more. I just fucking battled the damn potential Loch Ness monster down there. You know, give me some Potter pennies. But yeah, Hogwarts Legacy is a really, really good game. Really good. Like a tier below your Horizons or your, like, it's not Witcher level, you know. It's just, in my opinion, not Witcher level, but it's fucking really, really great. Really great. Like a tier below top level open world RPG. It's a great, great video game. Highly, highly recommended. So that is February for me. I appreciate you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. A little bit longer with some rambles there, so we'll try to chop this up a little bit and get it out quickly. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. Hope to see you soon. Take it easy. Hit me up in the comments and let me know what you've been playing. Appreciate you guys for watching. That is my February ranking. Thank you. See you soon. Goodbye.